Welcome to Real Life Beyond Faith, where a formerly Christian, currently atheist couple takes a deep dive into the experience of life after deconversion. This is episode 35. I'm your host, Jenica Crail.
And I'm your host, Patrick Crail.
So we're back. Sorry. We took a couple weeks off. We had a friend visiting and also just like a lot of stuff going on. So I'm sorry. We disappeared for a hot minute and we didn't even say anything about it. So
We've been slacking
we kind of
lately.
suck at this.
Yeah.
Like, we are the most inconsistent podcasters, if you haven't noticed already.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of just rolling with it. Like, everyone keeps saying that consistency is the most important thing. And I'm like, yeah, but life and also kids and family life.
Yep.
Oh, and mental illness. That definitely plays
that'll
a
put
role.
a damper on things.
Yeah, a little bit. But here we are. And we have another episode for you. And it's with an author of a children's book. And it's about death. And so
It's really good.
I think you guys will like it. I think you should check it out. He seems like a really cool guy from what we've gotten to know of him while we've been, preparing for this interview and then, of course, interviewing him. So, check it out. His name is J.R. Becker. And like I said, it's a children's book about death. And the series is called Annabelle and Aiden.
Yeah, and he has 3 other books in the series talking about evolution and other scientific things. Kind of breaks it down for children level. And
the illustrations are beautiful, too.
Yeah, and the illustrator is someone from across the world. Like,
Italy, yeah.
Yeah, he's never met the illustrator. And technology is really cool.
Yeah, it is.
So
this day and age is pretty neat. You can connect with people all the way across the world and like do projects with them without ever actually meeting them in person or even talking on the phone.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But anyway, I think you guys will enjoy this interview. And of course, check out AnnabelleandAiden.com and you can pre-order his book about death, and you can order the other books that he's already finished, which there are 3 others. So.
Yeah, and his Kickstarter is still going up through about the middle of May. So head over to the Kickstarter, and if you feel like this is something that you support, feel free to toss him a bone and help this project out.
And you should support it.
Yes.
I'm using the should word. You should.
Yeah, we plan on getting this book because it's a really good concept, and we have 2 young children.
Mm-hmm. We're getting all the books.
We want to teach them all the science things.
Yes. I'm just going to go ham and get all the books.
Yes.
Go hard or go home, that's what I say.
Yep.
So without further ado, we'll get right into it right after this break. Hey there. If you like what we're doing and want to support us, you can head over to patreon.com/reallifebeyondfaith and become a patron for as little as $1 per episode. Your support is greatly appreciated and goes toward a podcast hosting site, equipment, time spent recording and editing, and our activism in our community and beyond. You'll also gain access to behind-the-scenes video content from our recording shenanigans. Another great way to support us is to give us a 5-star review on iTunes or Stitcher, or share our show on social media. You can find us at facebook.com/reallifebeyondfaith and Twitter at RLBFpod. And you can email us at reallifebeyondfaith@gmail.com.
All right, so this week we have J.R. Becker with us. He is the author of the Annabelle and Aiden series, and his most recent book that is about to come out is called What Happens When We Die, and it's a children's book to talk about death with children. Is that right?
Pretty much. How you doing? It's good to be here.
Thanks for coming on the podcast. We're pretty interested to hear about this book and like what got you started. So I think first we want to ask a little bit about your background. You said that you were raised religious, yeah?
Yes, I grew up in an Orthodox Jewish home. I had 2 loving parents, and I had a pretty good childhood. And I don't know if you want the whole origin story, but I ended up shedding my beliefs and doing my own investigations and research and thinking. And over a period of 4 or 5 years of absolutely obsessing over the question, does God exist, and is any of this real, or is it all made up? I came to the latter conclusion, and I am now an atheist and secularist.
Awesome.
Cool.
So,
and how long ago was that?
That journey ended. I mean, obviously for all of us free thinkers, our journey never ends, but coming to that conclusion, well, okay, so my sort of obsession with really understanding the quote unquote the God debates and each argument for and against the existence of God and the refutation to every single one of those arguments, my obsession with that probably ended about 3 or 4 years ago, and I cooled down and kind of came into my own. So, yeah.
cool. Would you say that there was like a final straw for you, or was it just kind of like such a gradual process that eventually you're just like, yeah, I don't believe anymore?
That's a good question. I never really believed in my gut. There were years where I sort of managed to convince myself, or I found something in Judaism to kind of hold on to that really did interest me, on the philosophical, intellectual side. But I always had doubts. And the first time I heard someone like Christopher Hitchens speak, it blew me away. And I was like, wow, I didn't know that anyone really felt the way I did. It was hearing Christopher Hitch. I mean, all of the horsemen and a lot of the secular leaders, but hearing Hitchens speak it was like hearing a voice that was inside of me my whole life that I didn't yet that I didn't know was there and didn't really pay attention to. And when I heard him speak and people like him, I'm like, that's exactly how I felt my whole life. He is dead on. And it was very exciting for me.
Yeah, and he was so like blunt and straight to the point. It's like, oh my God. Like, first of all, it's like almost shocking at first. Like, oh my God, somebody's saying this out loud. And then you're like, God, he's actually right.
Yeah, it's really cool to hear someone from a different perspective than what you're used to resonate with what's going on in your head and your thoughts, and just makes it so much more relatable, and I don't know, makes you feel like you're part of something, like a community.
Yeah, it sounds like you actually like hit that like solid ground finally around the same time that I did, because it was about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
A little over 3 years ago. So that's kind of interesting.
Well, it was about 3 years for me too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What kind of background do you guys come from?
Fundamentalist Christian. Like,
yep.
Especially me, I was raised in like a charismatic, like very, strict Christian background. So, yeah.
Mine was a little bit more liberal and mainstream.
Yeah. Still conservative in beliefs, but less wacky. Like no speaking in tongues or like worship dancing and stuff like that.
Right.
I was straight up a worship dancer. So
got it.
So tell us a little bit about you as an author. Have you written books before this?
So I always loved philosophy since I was introduced to it in college. I went to a religious college, but they had secular courses, and I took philosophy from a Jewish professor, but he wasn't religious at all. But regardless, it was just excellent. The classes were great, and I loved Rene Descartes and David Hume and Kant, well, the little Kant that I could understand, and just epistemology. What is knowledge? How do you know something? What is it to know? It just I loved that. To answer your question, then I went to law school. And I had an idea in my head for years of writing a novel that is kind of like a Lord of the Rings epic fantasy, but each character represents a different philosopher, and each society represents a different, kind of satirizes a different philosophy, like lives their life to a comically exaggerated version of Plato's philosophy or Aristotle's philosophy. So I wrote this long novel about 7 years ago. I published it. I bothered my friends and family until they bought it. I sold like 80 copies, and that's how my writing started. And I'm like, I'm never writing a novel again, because it took me like 4 years to do, and it was horribly difficult. So later, when I became an atheist and skeptic and science enthusiast, I wanted to put it out into the world. And children's books, you could write in about a 15th of the time of a novel, and people will, it's much, people will take a risk on you much easier because, investing in a novel is a lot less than investing in a children's book that's going to take 5 minutes to read. And I'm artistic and creative, so it all just kind of fell into place. And I wanted to make a children's book about evolution. And I did, and it was great. And now we're on, I don't know how much you want me to go on about it, but we've done 3 books and we're on our 4th.
Oh, excellent.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it seems like we're really lacking in that market for books that are skeptically based. There are so many religious kid books. Like, we still have some. I actually
The children's Bible.
We have one book where I actually it's like about creation. I actually crossed out God throughout the book and wrote evolution.
No.
Well, I wrote universe on a couple and then like evolution just to be goofy, but
Yeah. And I think we have one scientific book for kids. But other than that, there doesn't seem to be a big market for it.
Yeah, there's a big gap in children's literature that I'm trying to fill, and I'm trying to find it now. There is a book available on Amazon right now by Ken Ham about the dinosaurs.
oh my God.
And here it is. Okay, so if it's okay, I'll read you the first few sentences here on this page. It says, I'm not kidding. It says, I posted this. It says, dinosaurs were playful, loving companions to Adam and Eve during their time in the garden.
Wow.
They helped gather fruit and used their incredible strength to turn lemons into delicious, fresh lemonade. And it goes on. For centuries, scientists have tried to present the dinosaurs as violent monsters because they want to scare children. It's no coincidence that most of these men have been atheists or even homosexuals who are possessed by an intense hatred of young boys and girls.
Wow.
I promise you I'm reading this, and I could it was posted on the Annabelle and Aiden Facebook page yesterday. It's real.
Wow. Yes, because the homosexual agenda is to propagate the dinosaurs are these evil creatures instead of making lemonade with the humans.
Making lemonade.
It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh
Everyone could if you want, I could send that to you and you guys could post it for all your listeners who are listening to this.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So yeah, I'm kind of glad that you are filling that gap.
Yes,
and,
thank you.
Taking the other side of what Ken Ham is putting out.
We have 2 little boys, so this is like extra important to us that there are books out there that our boys can read or that we can read to them that actually have like a good message and can teach them real stuff. Like your book, it doesn't really dance around the topic. It goes straight to the heart of the issue, and it's so like factually correct, but also beautiful and awe-inspiring. So
thank you.
Tell us, what made you decide to write a book specifically about death?
Okay, so there are 2. So I'm always thinking of ideas. Right now, I have about 5 or 6 book ideas in my head that I hope to do in the next few years, maybe half of them. And this was one of them. And I think it came from 2 sources. The first is, and you can find it on YouTube, it's about a 5-minute interview between Neil deGrasse Tyson and Larry King. He went on the Larry King show, and they speak about death. And Neil deGrasse Tyson is very inspiring, and he talks about how death, we spend so much time being afraid of death, but without death, life would go on forever, and it would cease to be pleasurable or meaningful because it's the thing that makes things meaningful is knowing that they come to an end. And if there was always tomorrow, why even try to get anything done today? Why get out of bed in the morning? It's knowing that our life could end one day or will end one day that gives us the drive to appreciate and make meaningful the present. And that just sort of resonated with me. And then there's another video with Stephen Fry narrating, an animated 3-minute video you could find on YouTube. If you type in Humanist Association Stephen Fry, I think it's Stephen Fry, and he narrates sort of the same thing. And it's just, I found those 2 inspiring, and it was just an idea I had, and a lot of people and a lot of secular homeschooling parents gave me the idea. And I actually I was scared to name it What Happens When We Die, because I think that's a crazy name for a children's book. And I wanted to call it What Happens When We Go. And a lot of parents and a lot of moms were telling me, do not don't beat around the bush. Use the word die. They almost made me. They're like, do not say what happens when we go, because that will confuse children. They'll be like, go where? Yeah. Use the word die. Own the word. They were very, and child psychologists I spoke to, child specialists, early education specialists told me the same thing, to like, don't beat around the bush. So, I had this idea to kind of make a book about what Neil deGrasse Tyson was saying. What would it be like to live forever, and why is, try to make a positive book out of something that we see as a negative, which is death.
Right. Yeah. And what you were saying about how death kind of gives us purpose in life. Like, if we just go on thinking that, tomorrow's definitely going to be there, then we don't necessarily have a purpose or meaning in life.
Or the drive to do something today. Like, the fact that my life is finite is what makes me think, like, I definitely need to take advantage of today.
Right. And the Christians always say, well, if you don't have a God to believe in, if you don't have any hope of a future of heaven, then what do you have to live for? Well,
everything.
Yeah, literally. And that's kind of the answer there.
Yeah, I have awesome. Now to live for.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think that's why Penn Jillette says in his book, God No, that every day is an atheist holiday.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, we get to celebrate life.
Yeah. I love that aspect. But also there's I don't know. It's so hard talking to, especially like really young kids, about death, because sometimes it's so hard for them to grasp. I mean, even for adults, like, it's hard for adults to grasp death. Obviously, like, we make up pretty stories to make it easier.
Yeah, I think children have problem grasping permanence. That aspect of it.
Yeah, like my 6-year-old, he asks a lot of questions about death. And it's funny because, like, we'll get into this deep conversation where I'm telling him, like, when you die, the stuff from your body becomes part of the world again, and stuff from your body is going to grow, like, maybe into a tree, maybe into something beautiful, or maybe it could become part of somebody else's body. Like, you don't know, like, where, the stuff from your body could end up, but you always live on in that way, even though you won't be like yourself. And he's like, okay, but when do we become zombies? I'm like, okay, this is going to be a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I write about that in my book, how our atoms disperse and become one with the universe, and could become stardust or grow into flowers, or and how, according to the first law of thermodynamics, conservation of energy can never be created or destroyed. So when we die, the energy from our bodies gets passed on in other forms into other things. So in that very metaphorical sense, we never die. I mean, we die, but our energy never dies, ever. So, and that's literally true. That's not a metaphor. That's not an allegory. That's actually literally true. And I think that's quite inspiring as well.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And like the whole idea of our consciousness ceasing to exist is very scary for people. But honestly, like, I don't want to give away like too much from your book, so we can cut this if you don't.
That's okay. It's all about the illustrations anyway.
Right. Which I can't wait to see those. I've seen a couple of them on the Kickstarter, but I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of the book. So in the book, oh crap, I lost what I was going to say.
Oh, consciousness leaving.
Yes. Consciousness leaving. What was I going to say?
I think there's a part that I'm being reminded of now where Annabelle or Aiden says to Tardigrade Tom, or the Skeptosaurus, something like, but my brain will be no more. What will it be like to not play or love anymore or live life,
Yes.
And the wise owl says, it's true that will be no more. And that is sad, which is good, because it's good to give children, an acknowledgement of that it's okay to be disappointed with this, but it'll feel a lot like it did before we were born.
Yes, that's what I was trying to think of. It completely lost my mind. Yes, I love that, because honestly, that has given me so much comfort, because it's like, it's not going to feel like anything to not exist, because we've already been there. We don't remember it. And now we're just going back to that state, and our energy and our memory lives on. So, in a way, like, we are still continuing on, even though our consciousness is not.
Exactly.
Yep.
So, when is this book coming out?
So it's actually available on Kickstarter right now for pre-order. So if people go to kickstarter.com and they search for Annabelle, just even typing in the words Annabelle Aiden, or Annabelle and Aiden die, what happens when we die, any of those, it should come up. People could also go to annabelleandaiden.com, which is our website, and it directs back to the Kickstarter. So it's available for pre-order right now for just a few more days, and it should be out available on Amazon sometime in August or September, depending.
Awesome.
That's exciting. We'll make sure to link to that stuff in the description box of our episode.
Thank you.
So this book is on death, and this is what you said, the fourth book. Do you want to briefly touch on what the other subjects are of the
Sure.
that you wrote?
So Darwinian evolution was really, I was taught evolution in high school very briefly, and it was kind of like, take it with a grain of salt. And if you have any questions, don't ask the science teacher, but go to the rabbi. He'll talk to you. And the rabbis would give some apologetic answer like, yeah, it's kind of true, but God is behind it all. And, I don't know if it's really all true, et cetera, stop asking questions kind of thing. So when I really understood it maybe 4 or 5 years ago, it very much blew my mind. And evolutionary psychology still is I'm infatuated with. But I wanted to tell the story of evolution, and people told me don't do it because it's not a story and it's too complicated for children to understand. And I said, of course it's a story. Once upon a time, there was the first living thing, and it tried to make copies of itself. And some of those copies, it made some mistakes, and they weren't perfect copies, and there were little genetic mutations, and the ones that were helpful stuck around, and that made new animals, including humans. And we're all related in the same family tree. And we should, I thought it was the perfect children's book. So I did that. It ended up being banned by Christian News a few months later. And I could send, if anyone Googles Annabelle and Aiden Atheist Evolution, they'll come to this article about it. And that helped me sell a lot more books, and it became an Amazon bestseller. So that was great. And then the second book was on critical thinking and skepticism. Right. It's called Oh, the Things We Believed, and it goes through all the fun, comical myths such as flat earth on the back of turtles or storks delivering babies. It's a very fun book on skepticism. And the third book is called Worlds Within Us, and it's on the Big Bang and how we're all made of stardust. And now we're on book number 4, What Happens When We Die.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a great mission.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm trying to show kids fairy tales and myths are wonderful in their own way. Peter Pan, Jack and the Beanstalk, whatever it is, they expand the imagination. But I feel like facts are stranger than fiction, they say. Our natural world is just as exciting. So we don't need to pay the price of, kids' imagination could be expanded with magical stories that also just so happen to be true. And also you just so happen to be learning about our natural world at the same exact time, so that when you grow up, you could actually use that knowledge to change it and improve it. So that's basically our mission in a nutshell.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the story of how our universe started and how, living beings came to be. Like, first of all, yes, evolution is definitely a story. Everything's a story.
Yeah.
But I think it's a beautiful one. I think it's more beautiful than the stuff that we made up, thousands of years ago and wrote books about and then told people all these rules that they needed to follow. Like, that stuff is the boring stuff. Like, I would rather hear the magic of reality, like what really happened. I think it's beautiful.
Exactly.
I love that the stuff that makes up our bodies could only be created by a dying star. Like that is beautiful. And so I think it's wonderful that you're writing books about this stuff, making it understandable for children, and, you know, of course, beautiful pictures to go along with it. Are you doing your own illustrations, or do you have someone doing that?
I'm not. I'm artistic, but I'm such a perfectionist, and it would take way too long. And it would also have to be by hand if I did it, because I don't know how to use Photoshop or any of Illustrator. Right. And I wanted a certain digital look, so I went online. I did a lot of searching. I had a certain vision in my head of how I wanted it to look, and I found the right illustrator. She goes by Max Rambaldi. She lives in a little village in Italy, and you might find it very interesting, because I do. I've done 4 books with her and thousands of dollars of work, and I have never spoken to her, and I have never met her.
Oh my God. That's hilarious.
It's all over email and PayPal, and the internet is amazing.
Yeah. Hey, if you can get it done, then.
Yeah, but I'm always terrified. Like right now, as I'm talking to you now, and about 20 minutes ago, she delivered. I just got a little notification. She delivered me an illustration. We're still working on this 4th book, but she could totally just leave me and there would be nothing I could do. Like it's just it's worked out great so far, and I'm joking around, and I'm sure she loves working with me and loves the project and our mission, but it's just kind of crazy that I'm working with someone on the other side of the planet that could just disappear at any time. So I hope she stays safe, right, and stays happy.
Yeah.
Stay safe for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Technology is really cool in that way, but also kind of scary at the same time in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, more cool than scary, though. I love it. I love that I can connect with people all over the world. So are there any, like, anything else that you want to share or get out there or plug?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's really, I really urge people, whether you could give or not, whether you could pre-order the book or not, I think everyone would really enjoy watching the 3-minute video that we have on our Kickstarter campaign. So if people, check the link, that you guys will put for this episode, or go to Kickstarter and search for What Happens When We Die, Annabelle and Aiden, and watch that video and enjoy it.
Sure. We'll share
that's about it. And then all of our books are actually available at a pretty steep discount right now on our website, AnnabelleandAiden.com. That's it.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us, JR. We're looking forward to it coming out, and we will point people in your direction. I'll share it on Facebook.
Yep.
And on my personal profile, and also on the Real Life Beyond Faith one.
Yeah, mine too.
And then we'll make sure to tag you and all that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And thanks for having me, and thank you for all that you both do.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thanks for spending your time with us tonight.
Absolutely.
Take care of yourself.
Thank you.
And good luck.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. So that was our interview with J.R. Becker. We hope you guys go over to AnnabelleandAiden.com and check it out. Also, please visit the Kickstarter and help this project out. This is a worthy project. Very, very good books. Like, he actually sent us the full book minus the illustrations on PDF, and we got to read the whole thing, and it is so good, so well written, so like to the point, doesn't dance around the subject, but also makes it understandable for a child and not scary.
Yeah, it's very digestible and doesn't dance around death. Like, it doesn't really sugarcoat
Which
it.
Which is, tricky when talking to kids, because, like, you don't want to scare them to death, but also to death. But you also don't want to, like, not be honest, or, like, make up stories. Like, we pride ourselves on not lying to our kids. And so when it comes to talking about death, we're going to tell them how it is, but we want to tell them in such a way that they see it as a beautiful part of life and not something to be afraid of or to live in fear of. So yeah, it's really good. And so you guys should definitely check it out. We, of course, will link everything in the description box of the episode. I'm going to post it on Facebook in the Real Life Beyond Faith Facebook page and also on my personal page. So, yeah, check it out yourself. Share it if you would like to share it so other people
You
can
should.
see. Totes should. But anyway, now it is time to thank our patrons. So thank you guys so much. Those of you who are supporting us on Patreon, it really does make a huge difference for us. It helps because I have to take off a night of work so we can record. And so obviously like time is money. And so it's nice to be able to like do this and not struggle too much financially in order to make it happen. So those of you who are supporting us, we so much appreciate you and we love you, no matter whether it's $1 per episode or $10 per episode. Like, you guys rock. So for those of you who pledge $5 or more per episode, you get to have a plug at the end of every episode for whatever you want. And for Rich Kemp, he wants us to plug Recovering from Religion, which is recoveringfromreligion.org. It's an organization that helps people who are transitioning out of religion and into secularism or atheism. And they have tons of resources on the website. They have a chat line and a helpline. So you can either call in or you can actually like text with an agent and ask questions and get helpful resources. It's freaking fantastic. The next one that we would like to thank is Thomas Smith of Serious Inquiries Only. His podcast, it takes a critical thinking look at skepticism, religion, science, current events, anything relevant. He takes a critical thinking look at it and invites on amazing guests who talk about subjects and who are experts in certain things. And so, yeah, definitely check out his podcast. It's one of my favorites, and he's a good friend of ours, and I really enjoy just knowing him. Anyway,
I get the point.
That turned out more awkward than I was anticipating. He's good peeps, okay? Anyway. Yeah. Actually, so is Rich. All of these people that were... Okay, I guess the point of this is to say that they're all good peeps.
Yes.
Okay. Next, we'd like to thank Marissa Alexa McCole. First of all, we'd like to thank her for being awesome.
Yeah.
And secondly,
obviously,
we would like to plug her podcasts. Inciting Incident. Actually, her 150th episode of Inciting Incident is going to be live in Chicago, and I am a special guest. And I feel super honored and super excited. So that's on June 23rd in Chicago. You can go to Inciting Incident on the interwebs and find out more information about that. And also she has another podcast called The Cis Are Getting Out of Hand. And that one is about, well, it's a podcast made for trans people, by trans people. And it's a special little corner of the world where they get to talk about trans issues and make fun of cis people. And
how we get out of hand.
And how we get terribly out of hand, which is completely true. And they do like skits at the beginning of the episodes. It's really good. It's funny, it's lighthearted, and then it's also like pretty serious at times. And Marissa and Ari are both fantastic humans, and they do a great job of doing that podcast. So check them out. Next, we would like to thank... Who would we like to thank next? You take this one.
Christopher Powell.
Yes, Christopher.
And he wants us to plug the Tri-State Freethinkers. It's an organization in the tri-state of Kentucky, Ohio, and Indiana. They do activism, community service, education, and social events. We suck at this. We are members of the Tri-State Freethinkers, and it's kind of a great group. Lots of different events to get plugged into. Like I said, there's those 4 categories of whatever suits you best.
They have game nights on Friday nights.
Yeah. So if you want to help people out and don't want to do it under the umbrella of religion or Christianity, this is your group. They do so many different things to help out community. So if you live in the tri-state area, please check them out. Come see us. Come hang out with us.
Strong agree.
Yes.
And then lastly, we'd like to thank a couple of our $5 above patrons who don't have plugs but are equally as awesome. And that's Justin Krebs and
Justin Krebs.
Justin Krebs.
Thank you.
Thank you, Justin Krebs.
And if you ever think of something that you want us to plug, hit us up.
Yes, we really appreciate the support. I think that wraps it up for this episode. It's a little bit of a short episode this week. We apologize.
Mhm.
Hopefully you're not going through withdrawal from RLBF.
Yeah. Sorry, we've been slacking.
The drug of RLBF, because we are obviously good enough to be a drug. Duh.
Psh.
All right, this is getting out of hand.
Yeah.
Speaking of getting out of hand.
Well, yeah,
we are cis and we are getting out of hand.
that we are.
So, yeah, we'll catch you next time. Oh, and next time will be our Q&A. We realize it's been a hot minute since we asked the questions on Facebook, and we haven't posted that episode yet because we suck.
And one of the questions is a very time-sensitive question. And just tonight, it was the hockey question. Talking about who I would prefer the Penguins to play in the playoffs. That series has actually just ended tonight, and sadly, the Penguins did not advance. So, screw hockey. Just kidding. I wouldn't do that.
I'm so sorry, Patrick.
Yeah. So now I'm gonna go cry in a corner.
I will go kiss you until you feel better.
That helps a little bit. I'll still be sad, but
You're completely ignoring my awkward laughing over here. Anyway.
because I'm in pain.
I'm going to fix it.
Anyways, yeah. Look out for the Q&A next time. Sorry we're slacking, but
we still love you guys.
yeah.
We're trying to get our shit together, okay?
We're trying.
Try to keep
Our shit
loving
is
us.
everywhere.
Oh, it's everywhere. Seriously, though. Look at this room. This is bad.
Yeah.
We need to get our shit together. Can you, cry as you do laundry, maybe?
I'm gonna cry because I'm doing laundry.
That'll work. As long as you're doing the laundry, I don't care what you're doing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this got out of hand.
Just a little bit. Maybe we can make a feature on this is getting out of hand with this shenanigans.
I don't think these are the kind of shenanigans they talk about,
Yeah.
but hey, it'll work.
Just hoping.
You want to be the one getting out of hand?
I just
I
want to
don't-
make
I don't think that's the
an
goal you
appearance
want.
Yeah. Oh, well. Anywho.
All right. Well, we'll catch you guys next time. But in the meantime,
Keep it real.
welcome to Real Life Beyond Faith, where a formerly Christian, currently atheist couple takes a deep dive into the experience of life after deconversion. This is episode 36. Nope. This is episode 35. I'm your host, Jenica Crail. Fuck you. Let's just start it over.
Okay.
It's like a special little niche or little. Her 150th episode. Her 150th. Fucking A.